Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, we're joined by Tim Green, who is from Green Sustainable Technologies and also GST Product Development. And am I right in thinking you're based in Japan at the moment, Tim?
That is correct.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, yeah. So Tim's joining us all the way from Japan. I almost said Kumbran, which is just up the road from me. How are you doing today, Tim? You okay?
Great. Kind of warm, but that's Japanese summer.
Yeah, okay. It's probably quite humid, I thought. Is it? Yeah,
Very, very. I don't like the humidity here. I'm Canadian.
yeah, okay, yeah. I've been to Cuba, which was very similar, very humid. Very, I like it hot and dry, but hot and wet is tough.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, we met on a speed networking event. We've known each other for a few weeks now, and I know that you're an inventor. But I don't know too much more than that. So tell us a little bit about what you do, why you're in Japan doing it, and various things like that. Really.
Sure. Okay. So I'll start with so what I do is I'm pretty eclectic in my inventions. Most of them are consumer products, very small, handy kitchen gadgets, a couple of things. I'll demonstrate one here because it takes about 2 seconds. Got tired of my glasses falling off. So I just fixed that. I have to sort of bring it in close. You might be able to see it.
Yeah.
But anyway, my glasses don't fall off. So that's pretty handy. So usually just handy little gadgets is sort of the primary focus in the consumer product space.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. And what helped you get into that?
I think I was born into that. My mother many years ago, when I asked her, said that I said, how long ago was it I tore apart my toys or tried to make stuff? And she goes, as long as I can remember. So I've been doing it since childhood, and then it was sort of a logical extension to, strive to make it into a living and a career.
Yeah. So have you got? I would say that you probably got like quite a logical brain and an engineer type brain.
I'm often mistaken by engineers as an engineer. So I guess the answer would have to be yes, based on that.
Yeah, okay. But I would say you've probably got a strong mix of sort of natural creativity in there as well, your problem solving
Mm.
and all of that. The reason I would identify with a bit of that as well and notice, well, and know that they were some of the traits for you is I'm very inventive and very creative as well. And I know what would be involved, if you like, so I'm a solutions provider, so I solve problems in the real world, but I use like tech and innovation and creativity and stuff I've learned about in sales and marketing to solve those problems. And my guess is that you're going through life seeing problems and your brain is ticking into, okay, what can I create to solve that problem? Yeah, would I be right in that?
You would be completely right in that. In fact, I see it all the time in the consumer space, basically everywhere. Every time I have a new experience, which is why I seek a diverse amount of experience. Like when I tried kite surfing the first time, I saw some problems with the equipment that made it harder to do. So I immediately thought of how to solve that. So that's my sort of default consciousness, and it extends over into the sort of thing that you do too, Mike, where it really is problem solving and then being able to make uncommon connections, usually across disciplines.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifelong learner, and I love learning about everything because it all comes into your toolkit of solutions. The more knowledge you have about diversification, etc. In fact, I'll go into an invention I just invented through somebody else showing me their invention, and I think I can save a lot of money, produce it quicker, and whatever. And I'm going to give it to you because if you want to do it in your part of the world, I don't care, right? Because I'm not that type of it's all mine type person anyway. Like yeah.
Right, great.
So basically, I've seen somebody who produced these masks, that breathing mask to go under face masks to mean that you don't get so condensed and you don't have to breathe so much. Like yeah, and they patented the mask. Yeah. Now, they've probably gone to a lot of money for that, and they're probably going to cost quite a lot of money because they're bespokely making them. Yeah, but they looked very much like a cricket box.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, not being a Brit, I'm not sure what a cricket box
Well, a
looks
cricket box
like.
is like something you put over your, nether regions to stop the ball from hitting you, like, yeah?
Oh, okay. We would call it a can. Yeah, I understand. An athletic protection device. Yes.
Yeah. You would have them in ice hockey probably and things like that. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, they're basically a box, but for some reason they're not fully solid. They got breathing bits in there, like, yeah, they got holes in them.
Hmm.
Maybe for ventilation, I don't know, for temperature control, but they have holes in them. So basically, somebody's gone out and created an invention of something very similar to something that already exists.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, I keep needing to. Now, no, I've seen that. I'm going to go and see if I can buy a load of cricket boxes. I'm going to go and test them first to see if they work. If they already work, don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just buy a load of cricket boxes, sell them as face mask enhancers.
I'm a little worried about the positioning because anybody, not so much your idea, but their idea in general. If
Yeah,
it looks like you're wearing groin protection on your face,
yeah.
you can pretty much guarantee you're going to get some social ostracism out of that.
No, but
But
the box is underneath your face mask, so they can't actually see it. So it's just something that separates your mouth
uh,
from the material. It's like a
oh,
guard.
so to make clearance.
Yeah, and so you can speak better and you can breathe better. That's all it is.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So to me, sometimes things are over-engineered, and sometimes the problem can be fixed very easily with a cleverer thought process. Because that's the problem. Some engineers got to go through the process. They don't always think about the commercialization of it or the ease of it, and that they just go through the process.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think that's always a problem that a certain amount of over engineering or an engineer or their team then not understanding it from the perspective and real use cases of the people who will actually use the product.
yeah,
Simpler is always better.
yeah. Generally, in most things, so over-engineering is a big problem, and also engineering for a problem that has no value. You know. So
Hmm.
it's a problem, but it's not a valuable problem. It's not one that people will pay for to solve.
Right. That's an issue too, because yeah, every time you do something, you need to think of that part too. Is uh, as a market derived product, is like, is this something that people are willing to pay for? So, for example, kite surfing, which I think is awesome, is great, but it's not a huge market,
Yeah,
right? It's not like face masks where everybody on Earth pretty much is wearing them. Clearly, it's a large market, but the flip side of that is there's going to be a lot more competition for innovation in that space.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And also you don't know the longevity of the market because it could be something else invented, a pharmaceutical product that destroys your market overnight.
Right. I hope so. I'm getting tired of the lockdown.
Yeah,
We're fortunate here in Japan because it's sort of considered the group type of society, and it has really served in terms of minimizing the spread. It's not that there isn't still an issue, but there's hand sanitizer in front of every store. 99.9% of all people wear masks basically all the time in
you wear them
public.
all the time
So,
anyway. Yeah, you see lots of Asians in the UK wearing masks all the time. They're very
mhm.
trained, I think, on pollution and being aware that car exhausts and whatever. So yeah, you do see a lot of Asian people wearing masks all the time, and every single Asian I've ever seen during the lockdown has got a mask on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, the sort of the philosophy behind it, because of course there's been, SARS and MERS and a lot more infectious diseases in the East than in the West, that with Japanese culture in particular, it is consideration of not spreading it to someone else, which is fundamentally where the masks are hopefully helping.
Yeah,
Right, it's the idea of keeping your breath warm, your body warm, but also limiting it away from other people.
yeah. I think they're more used to it, like I say. So in the Western world, it's taken a lot of time for people to get used to it. I myself haven't actually had to wear a mask, so I haven't actually worn a mask at all because in
Mhm.
Wales we haven't had anything other than public transport was the only place you had to wear a mask. So I
Hmm.
haven't worn a mask because I'm fit and I'm healthy, and I just stay away from people rather than like, I just don't go anywhere near
Hmm.
them, Plus, I know I haven't got any illness because I don't go anywhere. I live on my own and I'm locked in, so I've got no one I can catch it off, sort of thing. So
Right.
only once a week when I go to the supermarket, I could potentially catch it, but I just don't go anywhere near. I don't touch things and go anywhere near anything. You just don't need to, I use my feet to open the door and just common sense things,
Right. Preventative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that that's pretty. And I also go to supermarkets when they're quiet because I hate queuing. So I go when there's no one around anyway. And all that sort
Right.
of stuff.
Just
I'm a busy
sensible measures.
entrepreneur.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I'm a busy entrepreneur, so I don't put myself in busy spaces anyway. I go to the supermarket late at night when it's dead, so I can just nip in, grab my shop, and get out again. I do things like
Hmm.
that. I work around things. I've been living outside of the normal situation for 8 years anyway, and everyone else just joined me.
That actually causes me to want to ask you a question, and that was, for me, the whole situation, because largely I do a lot of work, at my office, which is my home office, on my computer and stuff. So fundamentally, a lot of what happened with COVID didn't change my lifestyle that much because I was already a solopreneur and did some other contract work. But what about yourself? Did you find the same thing, that it really hasn't made a significant difference to your lifestyle because it was already different?
Yeah, no real difference really. There's very slight differences, but better improvements. Yeah, so I'll go through those improvements. Yeah. So everyone else joined my timeline. So my timeline was when I wake up to when I go to sleep, right? Not everyone's joined that timeline, but most people's timeline went, instead of commuting 8 till 9 and then working 9 till 5 and then getting home at 6, they went to 8 till 6 contactable. Yeah. Which meant I can
Hmm.
contact people more. Yeah. Than I could
Right.
before. Plus, also they weren't on coffee breaks and lunch hours and all of that. You can contact them generally. Some people were doing their lunch early, some late. It wasn't regimented, so you can generally just catch people all day. Yeah. So efficiency went up for me because everyone's flexible like I am, just available and contactable all of the time. Yeah. The networking events, I used to do 2 or 3 a week in the real world. I now do about 6 to 10 a week online because the amount of time is the same. Yeah, the amount of time is the same because you haven't got to do the getting ready, going to the venue, having a few drinks with people after coming back. It's just you do the event, you're out again. Yeah. So I can do
Right.
6 or 10 events in the same amount of time I used to do 2 or 3. Plus, I do some online networking events where it's just people talking. So you can actually do other things whilst you're listening, whereas you can't do that at a networking event when you're actually talking to them in person. So I do a lot of social media on my smartphone, for example. So I could be doing some posting now. I'm not, but I could be, and it wouldn't make no difference. That, you know what I mean? You wouldn't know, and I'm just posting away on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, So it's much more efficient, the use of the time is more efficient. So that's what's really changed. Also, obviously, I'm not going out and doing meetings now. I'm doing them on Zoom. So I'm saving that travel time. Basically, I started a podcast and I do a lot of more networking events and Zoom and stuff. But I've also started going out and exercising every day because exercise used to be one of those things that would be sacrificed occasionally when I was busy. But now I've got that extra time that I'm not losing time traveling or whatever. So I think, well, I'll do some exercise in the time that I would have been traveling.
Yeah, my experience has been pretty similar to yours. What I think is great is this has pushed people who were normally reluctant, maybe my age or older, our age, I'll dare and say our age because we might be
I
similar.
would say you were sort of, my sort of age, maybe mid-40s.
No, actually, I'm 53.
Oh, well, I'm only 42, let's see, but you're looking good on it. I was going to say mid-40s to maybe mid to late, but 53, I wouldn't have given you that.
Thank you very
Depends.
much. Yeah,
Well,
I've been lucky in that. And also I've been, doing fitness for 37, 38 years. So maybe there's something about that whole fitness and eating healthy rumor.
oh, yeah, there's definitely something in that. I know people talk about it all the time, and some people are skeptical, but I think there's definitely something in it.
Oh, yeah,
I had a
exactly.
guy on my podcast last night. Check him out, right? His name is John Jubilee. He's 60,
Mhm.
60 this year. He looks
Hmm.
younger than me, or same age, well, mid-40s. I would have put him and you in the same sort of category, mid-40s, you
Yeah,
know?
I think he looks younger than me. I've actually met him on the one of the
Oh,
networking events.
he come from the same sort of thing, yeah. He come
Yeah.
from the networking, didn't he? Yeah.
Right. So that's what I found is people, so I'll broaden it out, but our age who weren't necessarily growing up with smartphones in their cribs. I think it's made a lot of people who are sort of maybe more advanced professionally in terms of where they are in their career, like the trajectory of their career, suddenly get on and use this technology that they may have been reluctant to use before, and it has caused the efficiency that you described. Because yeah, I'm now networking with people all over the world I would not have normally talked to. I've been using Skype and similar things for years, um, but yeah, like I mean, myself, friends who are now doing work from home a lot, it's just created a lot of utilization of already existent technology that people just weren't using, and now they're going, oh well, it's become a necessity, and it's actually causing business advantages like you talked about.
Yeah, and I actually think once all of the wood gets separated from the chaff, or the wheat from the chaff, whatever they say, yeah, I think businesses, there's going to be a bounce. Yeah, so I think there's going to be a massive. I thought there was going to be a massive global recession after this for like 20 years, because the global credit crunch has taken 12 years. We hadn't really fully got over that, and so I think the same situation was gonna last. So I would say without the technology bounce, this recession that we're in now would take 20 years to overcome. But I got a feeling it's not, and we're going to have actually a boom time because of all the efficiency that so many businesses have actually taken on board, and because of globalization. We've been globalizing for a long time, but this is like sped it up by 30 years.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean that's kind of the thing, right? Is now a lot of borders that were there before, or they weren't even there, but we had to shift in perspective. And I agree that it's
Yeah, yeah,
caused a lot of companies to think in terms of how they can deliver the same business or pivot and do a new business under the new normal. And I think for the money that they will save and things like, are you familiar with, it's called ROW, or results only work. I think it's experience. Now I can't remember, but the idea is that it's a model where people are more motivated because they just say, okay, by the end of the week, you have to have X, Y, and Z done. We don't care how you do it. We don't care if you leave in the middle of the day to go see your kid's baseball game. Just do your
how
stuff
we
and
work it.
have it done at the right. So like an open schedule and a lot more autonomy. And that's what this has given a lot of people. I know some people, it's like, it's great. I get up 10 minutes before work. I pour coffee. I wear casual clothes. And soon as the morning meeting happens, I'm ready, comfortable, and happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I
definitely.
think there's a lot of advantages that will be realized out of this that people
Yeah,
weren't really thinking
to
of.
me, life's about enjoying. It's about enjoying life and living it on your terms. Taking control and responsibility for your life, your structure, your format, etc. And actually, if you've got to go and work in a system, whatever that system is, if you didn't design it, then you're not working to how you want to live, or how you want to work. You're adapting to the system, and the system has been broken for a long time, really, because people of globalization means that you've got to work different timelines, and you've got to cross different borders, and there's certain dress codes that are expected in some countries and not others, and in some industries and not others, and there's all this sort of stuff, and the system was creaking because there was so much flexibility being poured into the system, and the system was struggling to cope with its format anyway. And so all this has allowed people to do is actually realize the system doesn't really matter. Just make a system that works for you, or if it works for your business or your staff or whatever, and just let that system operate on its own in amongst the worldwide craziness of multi-systems.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you like completely on that. It's ironic that I did a little article about that, or maybe it was just comments. Somebody had posted something about that. and it was about how Generation Z, or whatever the youngest generation, I'm losing track of the names,
That I
but
think
how
the latest one, yeah,
right,
Generation Z.
that their inclination to quit if they're unhappy was unique. And I said, well, to be honest, and may upset some people, but yes, they are spoiled and over-validated. At the same time, because I truly believe that, but at the same time, it's brought up exactly what you said, and that was that that the system has been broken for a long time, and there was no, and the rest of us would just get in line, not because we even had a choice, but there wasn't a large enough majority of people objecting to it, saying, well, you're just treating me badly, but you're the boss, so I have to take it.
Yeah,
That there's actually some good things that will come out of that, because this was a professor of some academic professor in the area of human resources talking about it. And it was just like, well, that's because the system was broken, and they're just the first generation to really be willing to quit over it in mass, which hopefully helps fix some of those flaws in the system, which had nothing to do with business efficiency. It was
yeah.
just dogma and hierarchy that
Well,
made the
it was
boss the boss.
tradition and laziness to change it, and tradition, and just because
Yes.
it is the way, that's the way we do things.
Yes, exactly. And so I agree with you that those changes that have come about are nothing but advantageous. Not everybody may be happy about them, but everybody is always happy about a better bottom line. So when they see employees who, now you don't have to, in Japan, most employers actually pay for transportation for their employees to travel to work, because they do it by train, but even by car. So suddenly it's like, well, yes, we did have to deliver one of our computers to their home, but they're never late. The train's never late. Um, those transportation costs are gone. We don't have to deal with extra healthcare expenses because they came in and got COVID. That I think they'll find their performance will go up and their expenses are going down. So when they start to see those results that they would have otherwise resisted out of traditional dogma, that they're not going to care anymore, because they're like, hey, we make more money.
Yeah.
And every company likes that.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but I think there's the knock-on effect of things like, when people got a better, well-balanced life, that's more on their terms than someone else's. Then they're not like slaves. Then being told what to do by the master, but they're in charge of their own destiny. So with that becomes greater ambition, greater flexibility, greater
Yeah.
education, less mental health issues. Less time off on the sick. The people will become more productive and cost less to manage and run.
Yeah, and that's true. I read a lot of books, and one that I read a couple of years ago now was by Daniel Pink, and it was about that. It was called Drive, and the actual science behind motivating, and it was particularly focused on employees at larger companies. And there was three primary motivators, and that was mastery, that is the ability to improve your craft and get better, and companies facilitating that mastery, that you're not just stuck where you were, but that they would give you opportunities to evolve. Autonomy, the freedom to get the job done however you saw fit, as long as the results were what they wanted and acceptable in level. And meaning, that besides collecting a paycheck, that somehow you felt that your work mattered, that it mattered to society in general, or that it had some kind of larger component of service, that you felt like you were proud of what you were doing, instead of you just did it only for the money. So those three components fit really well. In fact, that's where I learned about the results only work environment. That's what it was. Row.
Yeah.
Great book, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. But I listen to all those sort of free thinkers, personal development people, personal empowerment people. People like Dr. John DeMartini, Brian Tracy. All the Americans already, because all these speakers are American, which is why I'm going global, and is why I want to become one of those speakers, because I feel the UK and little old Wales are underrepresented on a global basis, and I don't know why they shouldn't be. And so I'm on a mission to do something about that.
Right. Just out of curiosity, this is sort of really off script, but did you catch my reference about Snatch when I was talking about your accent? We were talking with one of the network people.
At the time, wasn't it? Yeah, you mentioned the Snatch reference, which I assumed was to do with the film Snatch. Yeah, but I didn't know which. Didn't know.
Yes, exactly. Because of your accent, right? So you have the sort of probably the same area, right? Where there's these accents and sort of for the West, seeing that film sort of gangsterish.
Yeah. Well, like
Anyway,
I would call it a gruff. I'm quite a gruff. I
yeah,
got a
yeah,
voice, like yeah. Some
yeah,
people
yeah. That's
call it
exactly it.
the Celtic. So I've been called by another Canadian actually, the Celtic crawl or something, or some Celtic something, which was basically that gruffness, yeah, like a sort of
Okay,
Celtic warrior type voice. But I am
right.
a Celtic warrior, so I'm a dragon slayer. I got dragon's blood in my veins. So I love that whole mystique of the Celticness and the dragons
Yeah.
and all of that. And yeah, one day I'd love to take on some sort of role or something as a Celtic warrior. That would be like awesome. But I
I
get what
think you could leverage that as this is just because this is what I do in brainstorming. As an inventor, when I hear things like that, that's how I jump to ideas. And you talking about that makes me think that you could leverage your accent and humor to build up part of your reputation or your brand identity around that. Like
yeah,
if you know who Gary Vee is, so he's a media guy. His is, lots of swearing. He's a small guy who actually really dislikes formal education and so on and so forth. But he really hooked me and became very relatable to me is because he was very authentic. He
yeah,
swore, which honestly I loved because it wasn't cleansed. It was just the straight truth. And when he said entrepreneurialism can be lonely and tough and a long, hard haul, he wasn't always just spouting sunshine. He talked about the real stuff.
yeah.
And I immediately trusted him because he was authentic and unique. So you could do that with
Well, I sort of do.
your
I do
accent
that,
and your persona.
I would say, do you know Grant Cardone?
Yes, I do.
So I tell people
Not
that
personally.
I've actually been called to Grant Cardone of Wales by a couple of my clients. Yeah.
Right.
Also, I would say I'm a bit of a mixture of both Gary Vee and Grant Cardone because I'm authentic as well. So what you
Mm-hmm.
see is what you get. And, I don't swear so much on my videos because I come from a corporate sales background. And so I've been trained not
Right.
to. But I'm authentic and passionate. So occasionally I'll put a swear word in, yeah, because it comes out, because I'm authentic. But I'm trained authentic, I'm professional authentic, which means I'm polished, if you like, but I'm a rough
Right.
diamond that's been polished, yeah? Whereas Gary V has kept his a rough diamond status because he's never been in a corporate environment. He's always been a small independent business person in the wines. Now he's massive and he's got lots of media companies and stuff. So he didn't have to
And
adapt.
he's the boss.
He's the
Yeah.
boss. He didn't have to adapt himself to the world because he's the boss. He can do what he wants to, and he can survive that way. Yeah, but I'm a
Yeah.
bit more. So I see the rawness in both Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, and I'm going to be as big as those two one day. That's my mission. They're two of the people in my sights of I've got to be better than them. Like they're two of the people I watch
Right.
a lot of. Like yeah, and
That's awesome. I love that.
yeah, and I see them as basically Grant Cardone is a 20-year-old older version of me, yeah. And Gary Vee, I got more of the knowledge that Gary Vee have got with social media marketing than Grant has got. I'd say Gary Vee's better and stronger in that area than Grant is, like, yeah. But also, I got a bit more of a sophisticated sales approach than, say, Grant Cardone, because Grant Cardone used to be in car sales, yeah. And I
Mm.
used to do double glazing sales for 5 years, which was very similar, very sort of emotive, high pressure, high energy, that type of sales, yeah? But I had to turn myself into a polished diamond to go into the corporate sales world and teach people how to sell IT technical solutions to boards of corporate companies, some of the oldest established companies in the UK, you know? So I had to sort of adapt to that environment, if you like, yeah. And that's a lot more sophisticated and a lot more nuanced. And you're dealing with, CEOs and board members and IT departments and IT people and HR and legal teams and all of that sort of thing. So I would say that's a much more sophisticated, higher level sale than selling cars to people.
I think too, yeah. I think for both, because I've seen both on the internet and read books from both. That's true. That would be one of my criticisms of Gary Vee. I've thought of doing some articles about all the reasons people should never listen to him, as
Yeah.
well as all the reasons they should always listen to him, because I'm one of his biggest fans, but I still see a lot of things that Gary Vee in particular doesn't do, because I know his work better.
Yeah.
And that is, he is really down on education. And if you've seen the interview he did with, of course, I suddenly can't remember the name. He's very famous, Seth Godin.
Okay. Yeah.
He did
Yeah.
an interview with Seth Godin, and I mean, Gary Vee is naturally very smart, but not that well educated, as you said. He's not polished. And when that interview happened, Seth Godin, can I swear?
Yeah. Go on.
Okay, Seth Godin handed him his ass
Yeah.
intellectually. Like,
Not
Seth Godin
outdone,
is
and he maybe not
a,
even
a
realised it.
yeah, a clear mark above in terms of sophistication, because he has the social awareness that Gary Vee talks about and does have, but he's also, is not only well written but well read as well, and you can really see the difference. So I think that's
I was a
something you
grade
could
A.
use
I
as a
was a grade A
differentiating
student.
factor to those people.
Yeah, I was
Like,
a grade
so
A
the
student, in college, school and college, and I was a grade A student, and so I would say that I would probably, if I was as famous as them two and we had a chat, I got no doubt I could stand on a stage, I could go anywhere and hold my own easily with Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, no problem. I'm 30 years in the business, like, you know what I mean, high level sales, I've
right.
dealt with every type of character going. And and that's why I watch them. I love them. I love both Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, but I can see gaps that I can fill that they don't, and opportunities and flaws. And we're all flawed people at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, I
I'm not.
think that's why you could actually be sort of the intellectual Gary Vee. I think that would be a good positioning,
That
saying,
is
well,
what.
yeah, I'm like Gary Vee, but
Yeah,
I'm more educated than he is, because
that's the position
he
I
would probably agree with you.
the most sophisticated Gary Vee and the most sophisticated Grant Cardone, but still
Yeah,
with that rawness and that authenticity, which is what have made them mass market and popular. I am me at the end of the day. I'm the best me I'll ever be. I don't want to be Gary Vee. I don't want to be Grant Cardone. I admire them
you
for
got
who
it.
they are and what they do, but I'm a better me than they'll ever be. And I don't want to be a Grant Cardone or a Gary Vee. I see a lot of myself in those guys because they're at the position now that I know I'm going to be in a bit, but I know I'll do it my way, and I've got my own, unique take on things and my own brain, and I'm well read, and I study people like, Brian Tracy and Sharon Lecter and Robert Kiyosaki and Jim Rohn and who else? Les Brown and Tony Robbins, Jarek Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen. I study all these people, and just because I study my marketplace. I want to know who's doing what, who's delivering what. And that. The whole personal development space is full of people delivering the same stuff, but it's just how you deliver it. It's the mechanism. It's the language and all of that. Ultimately, because personal development is a journey. It's a life journey. It hasn't changed for a long time. It's how you improve. It's self improvement. It's helping the planet, helping humanity, leaving a legacy. They're the same concepts and principles have been around for a long time, because they're the right concepts and principles, and you don't need to, reinvent the wheel. The wheels work for a long time as well. You know what I mean? It's just occasionally you've got to make a Ferrari on the wheels rather than an old, Ford Cortina or something like.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that too, because I'm the same way. Like, I've been studying Tony Robbins since his first book, but not just him. And my background's actually neuroscience and psychology. So by and large, yeah, the field is largely the same and pretty generic. It's still, that's what I would bring, and I have aspirations also to be like a personal development coach. And in that vein, my strength would be the fact that I actually know the science that a lot of them just don't have a clue about, or they just had a staff write it. They had somebody research it and bring it to them, and then they pull up neuroscience or some fact that they think they know, and they don't really know it that well.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and that's why I think there's a good space there, because there's still a lot of charlatanism in that things that people are using that the research actually tells us doesn't work. Like you can repeat an affirmation as many times as you want. It means nothing alone. It has to be with emotion. It should be with action.
Yeah.
Action is the key to all of it. You can believe in none of that, but if you act on it,
and then act on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could skip all that stuff and just act, and you'd be pretty good.
So I've come up with 2 formulas which I'm going to teach on. These are my life projects, if you like, and I created them during the lockdown. So, like I said, I'm an inventor too, but I'm more an inventor with words and teaching and creativity and that sort of thing. So I've created a smart happiness formula, which is a 5-step formula for people to follow on a daily basis to be the happiest them that they can be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it SMART, and it stands for sleep, meditation, ability to perform, random acts of kindness, and targets.
Mm-hmm.
And ability to perform covers exercise, nutrition, and hydration. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the 3 pillars of keeping your ability to perform. Yeah. So basically, there's a routine that you can do on a daily basis. Anyone could do, and they will become happier by doing that routine. It's like scientifically proven. Yeah, because all of the things individually make you happier, but do them all together, and you hit the happiness sort of the bell at the top of the bang the thing, and you got to keep going up and up and up and up. You hit the bell at the top, that makes you super happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the smart happiness formula, and then a big part of my happiness is success. So I started thinking about this happiness formula, and all of a sudden I was like, well, success makes me happy as well. And obviously success is a bit in the smart happiness formula because it's targets. So it's target setting, target achievement, but doing it daily and not just the big one. Yeah. So actually you get used to hitting targets and achieving them, which makes you happy. As human beings, we like hitting targets and achieving them. But that's also what makes you successful, because if you keep setting targets and you keep hitting them, you're going to be successful in the areas that you're setting the targets in, which if you're setting targets in the right areas of your life, the things you want to achieve, then success is achieving the things you want to achieve, So therefore you can't not become successful. But what most people's definition of success is being successful by other people's opinion and not their own. Yeah. And to get that, to build your own success in life, I got a STREAMS formula, which stands for systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales. And if you build on those 7 pillars of success, you cannot fail to be more successful in life.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I like one thing you said, because I have, and again, you said you're okay with some swearing. Like, I'm not excessive, but okay, I've been saying this. I mean, I'm an English teacher here in Japan, but I realize the same thing, a lot of the same principles you're talking in, but especially fine, have a high level distant target, but you never have to lose sight of that if you know an immediate action you can take. And I actually originally derived that from Tony Robbins, who says you step back one component at a time until you realize there's an action you can take immediately. So here's what I tell both my students in English, but anybody who asks me about success and those components, as I say, every fucking day. And again, there's research to support this. The fact that you're doing it with high consistency, or at least most days, and you're taking an action. And it doesn't even have to be a big action, but obviously bigger is better, more is better. But the fact that you're taking it every day, and one of the flaws of the success industry is they're always looking at that brass ring, and they don't spend any time showing you that it takes real work, because it's easier to say, come and take my course and in 10 years you'll be rich. But then they don't give you a lot of the tools and the reality that it's still going to be everyday work.
Hard work.
It's not sexy, but that's the real key to success, is working towards something every day, and the progress. And another thing that I love that you said was, you were talking about happiness. There's a type of psychology that they call happiness psychology, which has things like gratitude and meditation and things that you were talking about. And I think that's really key too. If success is misery, if it makes your life suck by your own definition, then you're not a success. You're a failure. You
Yeah.
failed because you spent all your time trying to meet somebody else's criteria. So that whole pursuit of not just success, but success in a way that makes you in particular happy,
Yeah.
striving using progress, which is the ultimate motivator, is progress, right?
Yeah.
If today this call is something that makes me feel good, or I help someone, I feel great the rest of the day and I feel pretty motivated. Maybe I don't get everything done I want, but when I can look at any one day and say, today I did X, and do that every day or most days, that keeps me driving forward when I've spent 10 years doing some things that are not even close to fruition. But 10 years of lack of external validation, the only thing that'll keep you going is loving it and seeing some kind of progress on a frequent basis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, human beings are one of the only sort of species who sort of have the ability to grow way further than most people stop at. So they stop at like 10% of their capability or 20% or 30% or whatever. Human beings en masse, you know what I mean? There's so many people, for example, once they leave formal education, they stop learning. Never pick up another book. They never listen to another. You know, they just never develop on, other than maybe a skill they have to learn in work. You know, and then once they've cracked that skill, they do the same thing over and over again for 40 years, and they actually never develop on beyond that learning. So they have this brain that's like the best tool like ever invented, the best thing ever invented on the planet, like this brain that's in their head, which allows them to basically do anything they want to out of life, and they decide to switch it off and just do the same thing they've been doing every day for 40 years out of life. Right?
And they waste it. I totally agree with that. Personally, this is another thing that I really hate, because there's two kind of, they're not really battling, but in psychology and in the marketing of success and in the marketing of a lot of things like fitness, it's like, oh no, just do one push-up. Yes, it's true when the author of Atomic Habits talks about setting a low bar for starting, but that also is when it's hard to start, when you're fundamentally lazy, which is the default motivation of humans, is to be lazy because it saves energy, you survive, and then you can make babies, and that's why we're here. So we're fundamentally lazy and negative. That is literally part of our genes. But this, what I call the LCD, which is lowest common denominator from math, the lowest common denominator goals that people set for themselves, that's why they don't achieve excellence. If you want excellence, you have to achieve that by being at the top of your ability, which means you're inclined to make mistakes because it's not something you've already mastered. So you're right. People waste their brains and their potentials because it's comfortable, and failing feels uncomfortable. Well, K. Anders Ericsson, the actual guy who invented the 10,000 hour rule, talks about that in his book, Peak. It's like Peak and then the rest of the name, I can't remember, but he talks about the deliberate practice as being something you do at the top of your skill edge, knowing, first of all, it will be aversive and challenging, and also that doing so is how you achieve that mastery. And in fact, 10,000 hours is not the achievement of mastery, but the beginning of mastery. And he talks about it being a perpetual pursuit, like you've described. And that's how the best become the best. They are at the top edge. They fail as often as they succeed, and they keep going because they're at the top of their ability, not down here just coasting. And it's a real shame that people do that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree entirely with that. And what I believe as well is so actually, life is more fun outside of the comfort zone. Pushing yourself and testing yourself is where all the magic happens. But actually, I'm at the stage now where I spent so long of my life outside the comfort zone. I like the comfort zone. It's where I'm comfortable. I like the outside of the comfort zone. I've got comfortable outside of the comfort zone. Yeah.
I get you.
Because to me, the comfort zone, once you spend so much time out of the comfort zone and challenging yourself all of the time, you enjoy the challenge of the challenge, and so you're comfortable having challenges. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no,
I agree with that too. It's sort of like weights, right? If I pick up, well, here, I'll pick up my phone. If I'm picking up my phone, the idea of the low bar, which is for starting, not for excellence. So if you're lazy, unmotivated, or you need your teenager to clean your room, a low bar is a good place to start. It's like, oh yeah, feel the burn. This is what a low bar gets you. It gets you nothing. Versus a challenging thing when two things happen. First of all, you're actually going to get some results. It's challenging and you feel, whoa, somehow I've come out of focus.
you do
Um,
a little bit, yeah.
you feel so awesome because it was like, I worked my ass off, whether it's fitness or anything else. And when you do succeed, you know that you've earned it. And this goes literally from young children to elderly adults that I've taught. I'm often told, or encouraged to, oh no, your class is too challenging. The kids, the kids told their mom that it was hard. To me, that's a compliment
Yeah.
because I understand, and it's research supported, that that's where these kids who quickly grow to really love Tim Teacher,
Yeah.
they do that because when they do my class, they do something they didn't think they could do, and they feel great. And in fact, kids are geniuses because unlike adults, they're used to being not good at everything. Young kids, we should adopt their mindset. I was like, oh, well, I can barely walk. So trying something and having it being hard is totally good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'd love to have a chat with you for longer, but we'll have to do it again sometime, I think, because I got somebody else in 3 minutes' time, and they've just popped up in the waiting room, and I've got to end this one, get the video, and start another one in a bit. But it's been a great chat. I knew it would be. I was looking forward to this one because I knew you were well, you're an inventor, so I knew you're as creative as me. But I had a feeling that you was going to have the logic and the engineering side of things as well, because that's why you're creating stuff and not just inventing it but not getting anywhere. Yeah, which is what the
Yeah, I'm
creative.
not satisfied with the status quo. That's it, right? I want the next better briefcase or the next kite surfing accessory that's better for everybody. So absolutely. And yeah, I had fun too. So let's do this again sometime, either within the podcast or outside. I want to see how we can help each other.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And if ever you got any angles you need fresh perspectives on and stuff like that, I love challenges. I love all that sort of stuff. So, I've been a puzzler and a quiz and a strategist all my life. I love chess and pool and most sports. And, from looking at the tactics type of thing, just, I could be easily, I would not be frightened now if somebody was to give me the Liverpool job or the Man United job or a big job in anything. I know I could hold my own because I'm a strategist, and strategy is about being able to dissect what other people are doing, being able to work out how you can overcome it, how you can how you can sort of work your way around it, how it's endless the amount of things you can do. I always say I've got a quote that says, if you can't if you can't go over the wall, go under the wall. If you can't go under the wall, go through the wall. If you can't go through the wall, go around the wall. If you can't go around the wall, get a helicopter, fly over the wall. If you can't get a helicopter, fly over the wall, stick a dynamite in and blow the wall up. Yeah, it's just it's endless. Like I could literally write the over the wall strategies for like 10 days because there's so many different ways of getting over the wall. It's just most people see the wall, they look up and they think it's high, and then they give in and then go someone else and do something else.
It's hard, so they won't try it. Now, what you're saying, see, it's interesting because you're talking about what's his name, George Brown or whatever, the guy who does the neurolinguistics. I can't remember. He's a Brit. Anyway, so
Les
you
Brown
mentioned him.
is the only Brown I mentioned, I think.
What was it?
Les Brown was the only Brown I mentioned, I think. Les
Oh,
Brown.
okay, yeah, but there's a famous Brit who does like neurolinguistic programming. It's like hypnosis and stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is that's awesome is really we're talking about the same thing. You're a strategist.
Darren Brown, he's good. Yeah,
Darren Brown, that's the guy. Okay, so neurolinguistic programming also talks about noticing things and framing. And what we're doing is we do exactly the same thing in a different arena. What you do to me and what I do is inventing.
Yeah.
What I do to you is strategy and problem solving. It's all problem solving. So that's great. I had fun, and I'll let you go so you can do your next thing in about 1 minute.
Yeah,
Okay,
brilliant.
it was a pleasure. Bye, Mike.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming on. And there's nothing else left for me to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.